All right, let's dive in. Today we're going to tackle a topic that I'm sure keeps a lot of you senior architects and engineers up at night. And that's this whole problem of giving vendors access to your systems, without accidentally handing over the keys to the entire kingdom.
So just imagine this for a second. It's 2 in the morning. Your most important application just went down. The vendor support team is on the phone, and they're telling you they need production access, and they need it right now. The pressure is seriously on. So what do? Do you just open up the floodgates and hope for the best? I mean, we've all been in a situation like this, and how you react in that moment, well, that really defines your whole security posture.
And that right there is the heart of it. Look, anyone can create a user account and give it admin rights. That's easy. It's just a few clicks. But actually designing a system that gives the exact access someone needs for only the exact amount of time and with a full audit trail, that's not just a quick fix. That is architecture. It's all about being intentional instead of just being reactive.
So, how do we build that intentional design into our systems? Well, it all starts with one single foundational idea. It's our guiding star, our non-negotiable for any secure design, the principle of least privilege. It sounds so simple, but it is incredibly powerful. Think of it like this. When a friend comes to stay at your place, you give them a key to your apartment, right? You don't give them the master key to the whole building, the mailroom, and the manager's office. Of course not. You give them the absolute bare minimum access they need. That is precisely the mindset we need to apply to our cloud environments.
What's really interesting here is how this visualizes the two totally opposite philosophies. The old way of thinking was default allow. Give everybody pretty broad access and then try to lock things down later. The massive problem with that is if one of those accounts gets compromised, the blast radius is just enormous. The modern, much safer approach is default deny. Nobody gets anything by default. Access is an explicit, temporary, and audited exception. So if something does go wrong, the damage is totally contained.
Okay, so we've got our philosophy down, but how do we actually put it into practice? We need the right tools for the right job. So let's take a look at the main ways we can delegate access and see how this all builds into a real working solution.
So this table kind of breaks down our main options. You've got cross-account roles, which are fantastic for trusted partners you work with constantly. Then there are guest accounts. These are your go-to for that quick, one-off access for an individual, but you have to be super careful to manage them. Otherwise, you end up with all these old, forgotten accounts. And then there's B2B Identity Federation. This is the real enterprise-grade solution. It lets your vendor manage their own users, and you just trust their system. It's definitely the most secure and scalable, but it does take a bit more work to set up initially.
All right, so let's take our new toolkit and apply it to that 2 a.m. crisis we talked about at the beginning. The app's down, the vendor needs in. How do we use the principle of least privilege to solve this without compromising security?
And this is the playbook. It's a repeatable blueprint for safety. First, you don't just give them admin. No way. You ask them, what specific logs do you need to read? What single service do you need to restart? You define the exact permissions. Then, you create a brand new temporary role with only those permissions. You delegate it, you watch every single thing they do with real-time auditing, and, here's the most important part, the access revokes itself automatically after a set time. Let's say 2 hours. Boom. No cleanup, no forgotten accounts. The problem gets solved, and your environment is secure again.
Okay, let's zoom out for a second. Because what we've just walked through isn't just a policy for vendor access, it's actually a core piece of a much, much bigger architectural philosophy that's absolutely critical today: zero trust. The idea is simple: never trust, always verify.
So how do you make this your reality? First, you have to bake default deny into your company's culture. Access needs to be the exception, never the rule. Second, think of access like a transaction, not a permanent state. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's auditable the whole way. And finally, automate the entire thing. In a crisis, people make mistakes. Your strongest defense is having automated workflows for granting and, even more importantly, for revoking that access.
As we wrap up, I really want to leave you with this one question to think about for your own systems. When a vendor needs to get in, are you guiding them through a secure, monitored airlock that has a clear exit plan, or are you just kind of leaving the front door wide open and hoping for the best? Because your answer to that really determines your resilience.